Well, there was flames shooting up in the air 20, 30 feet high. And when I got up there, this one man was laying partially to the side. He's the first one I got out.
Was he alive?
Yes, he was alive.
It was such a rare circumstance, but also a story about hope. It was our 75th anniversary for Channel 5, which is a huge milestone in itself. And Sheila Rice, she had asked me to cover one significant event that happened almost 50 years ago, which would be this summer. It was the deadliest plane crash that happened in St. Louis in the summer of 1973. And they said that no one would survive this crash, but 6 people did.
These 2 are among the 6 survivors that day. 38 others perished.
All of a sudden, I think the first sensation that I had was a hissing sound. The front of the airplane wasn't there anymore. I did see bodies and wreckage, and there was still some fire.
Stu broke his back and had to rebuild his life. For Tansy, what she lost is something that can't ever be recovered. Tansy's sister and mother died.
And I just looked at her and her eyes were open, and I said, "Mom, mommy, mommy," and she just looked at me in her eyes and she mouthed the words she couldn't speak. She just said, "I love you." That's all I remembered.
Once we started working on the story, we have a ton of archival footage. We were near the crash when this all happened. We were so close. I mean, all of the footage that you see that we have in the video, we were there that day, 50 years ago. And so we started working, and Sheila was able to find and track down one of the survivors of that plane crash, and his name is Stu Sykes, and he lives in Chicago. So I went with Randy Schwenker, photographer, down there, and I think the interview itself, being a plane crash survivor, I think that really stood out to me this, probably the biggest story for me this year, just because, one, how many times do you talk to a plane crash survivor? Second, the messages that he had and what he's learned and overcoming that trauma and dealing with that, and this, being a survivor, and it's been some time since that happened, but it still obviously lives with him every day.
I found the young man to be very honest, very authentic, and someone who, even though he's tasted success, is still searching for his success, still searching for who he is. Cameron Saunders is a local dancer. He is now dancing with Lizzo and Saucy Santana, and he's in the movie Spirited right now. The reason why I really gravitated to his story was, one, he seemed to be so happy, so much joy, like so much was happening. At the same time, though, after meeting him, you realize he has overcome so much to get to where he is today. And a lot of what he had to overcome was about overcoming himself. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. And so to do the story, I felt that it was going to be one that's going to reach a lot of different people. But the way he told his story, his honesty, his emotions, his expressions were ones that everyday people could really connect to. And he had this one line where he talked about how people would say, "Oh, did you see the big guy? He moves well for a big guy." And he goes, "And that tag, I get that tag all the time." And I was like, yeah, that is how you feel, but you can't let it out at the time. Yet it became something that gave a fire to him. At the same time, it became something that took away from him, because he felt like, I couldn't be big and become a dancer, so I needed to get small like everybody else. And he said that it wasn't until he accepted himself that he was able to advance in his career. And what he said was, he found out that his size was his power.
Inspiring or impactful? Maybe not. But my favorite story of 2022 was covering the St. Nicholas Greek Festival in the West End. It was my first time at the festival because I did start in 2019, didn't have a lot of time before the pandemic hit. So it was their first time back in person. It was super fun, very welcoming. The food, incredible, 10 out of 10 would recommend. But I think the best part of all is that my mom got to shadow me that day. She followed me throughout the entire day. She made lots of suggestions. She was an intern for a day / producer / boss for a day, which I guess is fitting for a mom who's not in the industry.
A lady by the name of Nicole, who owns and operates House of Soul on Washington Ave. I was so gracious to meet her, and I know a lot of you guys are like, that's not Nicole, that's Elizabeth. But the reason why Elizabeth is here is because Nicole has been fighting cancer 2 times around. And you know, that is what inspired me, the fact that she owns and operates this business, still does so much for the community, and is going through personal things that people don't talk about. And so the reason why Elizabeth is here is because Elizabeth is who connected us. And Elizabeth has connected me to so many amazing people like Nicole, who, you know, shine and do amazing things here in the community. And so Elizabeth, talk to us about who Nicole is to you and, you know, why you represent her.
Nicole Stevenson is a friend, she's a sister, she's a business mentor, and she's definitely a phenomenal entrepreneur, business owner. She's just determined, even though she's battling, you know, cancer and, you know, coming back and forth with remission, and she's a fighter. She's a fighter, survivor, and she still goes and goes. Like, you're always seeing House of Soul. House of Soul is always having something, and even though like health issues and trials and tribulations and stuff, she's still a fighter. One thing that stood out to me was just a few weeks ago for Thanksgiving, you had talked to me about her annual give back that she does, and like 2 days, I think, or maybe on Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving, she posted on Instagram and was like, you know, it was like one of those sentimental posts, you know, like, I want to give back. But it was never really about herself. And, you know, if you didn't know about, to the public eye, it was just like, I can't do it this year, but, you know. Yeah, so every year around Christmas and Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, she holds a event, Feed the Unhoused, and some families aren't necessarily unhoused, but they don't have any family members to celebrate the holidays with. So on Thanksgiving Day, the community gets together, different organizations, and we not create meals, but cook meals. She's experienced homelessness once before, so she knows how it feels to be, you know, without family, unhoused. So she provides that for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Definitely, and you know, not to stay on a somber note, you know, I can think of, I think every time I see her, she's always smiling, having a good time. Yeah. You know, a couple of live shots that we've done, singing and cutting up. You know, the first time I think we met, I can't remember, but every time I see her, you know, it's always exciting, full of energy. This is why, you know, I wanted to choose her as a person of inspiration, and why, you know, I brought you here. Yeah. It's because, you know, you inspired me as well, and I appreciate you for connecting me to these types of people here in St. Louis, so I appreciate it. You're welcome.
What Justin Hardy is doing right now is a miracle. While it's crazy what he's doing, it doesn't surprise me because that's just what he's made of.
Justin Hardy was a senior last year at Washington University, and they have a great basketball tradition, and he was one of their best players. He was a guy that averaged 13, 14 points a game earlier in his career. And the summer before his senior season, he felt some type of pain when he was in the weight room. He went to the doctor, and they told him it was stage 4 cancer. And just like that, his whole life changed. I mean, this is a guy who was going to have a great senior season, and he was going to be an awesome player on a great team. And then all of a sudden, he's looking at an incurable disease, and his life changed dramatically. And this is a young man who was literally dying, but still hanging on to the sport he desperately loved. And you throw that angle into the fact that he's an unbelievable kid, beloved by all, and you have like one of the most compelling stories I've ever done in my 30 years. But he got a little better, and he managed to play last season. And there was a game early in the year where he scored 28 points. And I just said, hey, don't set the assist record. I need you to be great. He goes, I'll do what I can. And there was a moment in that basketball game where WashU's on offense, and he has the ball like around the midcourt area. And he made a move, and then he went to the basket. And you'll see that moment on the piece. And he had this thundering dunk. It was unbelievable. And it was like a Hollywood movie where we scripted the opposition to kind of get out of the way and let him dunk, which we didn't. I mean, they're trying to win a basketball game. But while I'm shooting this video, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look at this. I mean, this is Hollywood that he has this unbelievable dunk while we happen to be shooting this piece. Later on, about a month later, when his health really started to go the other way, it was on senior night. And I went to the game, and it was really sad because he had started to lose a lot of weight. And you knew he wasn't going to beat this thing. And he still dressed out on senior night. And this time, though, he sat on the bench. And this time, he couldn't play. And at the end of the game, they put him in. The other team knew his story, and they knew what he was going through. And he got in at the end, and he made a layup. And he went down to the other side of the court to play defense. But nobody really wanted to score on him. They just wanted to hug him. And after that game, they all did hug him. And it was really, really powerful. And shortly after that, he lost his battle with cancer. I'll always remember Justin.